Sunday afternoon, and I think I'm going to move a little bit of snow. But what I'm going to do is I have a list of questions that people have been asking me. And to be honest with you, I just haven't had time to answer online because there's so many videos up dealing with so many different topics, such as restorations and such as motorcycles, and it's and then there's your tractors, and then there's your modifications and your designs that you sell online. That it gets hard to answer them all. To be honest with you, it becomes overwhelming sometimes. So I just turn everything off and I don't deal with it. Kathy deals with the orders and shipping them out, and I deal with usually the social media stuff. So that's what we're going to do today. Try not to make it too long of a video. So it's but it's just a little bit at the freezing point, or probably a little bit below the freezing point today. We've had some real cold weather the last 36 hours, but thankfully that's moved on. I don't know of any more snow in the forecast for the next few days. I haven't seen any weather statements. So, let's get to the first question. The first question was, Paul, when you were moving the snow in this area here, how come you didn't use the snowblower? Well, I'll tell you, folks, the snow that you're seeing here is the snow that started off at the very beginning of the winter. And of course, what happens to it is our snow is kind of strange on this side of the island here. We live on the east coast of the island of Newfoundland, and it's got a tendency to have more warmings and freeze-ups than anywhere else. Usually out in central Newfoundland or the west coast, when they have winter, they have winter. It comes and it don't go until the spring. Well, we can have 4 seasons all in one day on this side of the island. So what happens is you'll get a lot of snow and you'll push some of it here, and what happens is it might turn to rain. Once it turns to rain, it freezes, and of course once it freezes, then we get more snow on top of that, then it freezes, gets more snow on top of that, and it continues on until we get into a situation where it has to be moved. Now when you have to move it, you don't want to risk using your snowblower because you know there's going to be chunks of ice in it, and of course lumps of really hard snow that's going to have a problem being ingested into the snowblower. Like these snowblowers on these smaller tractors, they have a single auger in the back. Years ago, when I was growing up, you wouldn't see a single auger snowblower. They'd all be double augers, one above the other. And it was great because when you backed into snow, the 2 augers had a tendency to mesh up all the old ice, or not the ice, but the hard snow and everything. By the time it got to the impeller, it was acceptable to take off. With these single auger snowblowers, you know, I'm not saying that they're bad, I'm just saying they're not the best. They work well, but I'd like to have a double auger snowblower. And maybe the day will come where I'll have one. I'm going to start looking around for one, actually. So the safest way to move that snow in that video was to use a bucket. And that's exactly what we did. And that's why people were wondering, well, if you got a snowblower, why didn't you use a snowblower? Well, it was safer to do it the way that I did it. Also, you probably can't tell by the camera here, or by the view that you have, but this is a lawn. This when I leave the pavement here, I'm actually going downhill to our lawn. And I'm pretty well riding on some snow there now, so if I had to use a snow blower, I would probably end up getting stuck down on that slope. So there it is. What can you do? What can you do? So now I got to dig out my bucket. Now another question is, do we have a snow bucket? Yes, we do have a snow bucket. Well, we don't technically call it a snow bucket. We call it a light material bucket. And the light material bucket is it's twice the size of this one that you see there on the ground. That being said, you have to be very, very careful when you're using those buckets on these small tractors, because the back wheels are solid. There's no suspension on the back wheels, but on the front they pivot. So if you were picking up a load of heavy snow with a bucket that's twice the size and not really designed for these tractors, and you cut your steering to complete left or to complete right, it's quite possible, if your counterweight in the back or the weight of the back of the tractor, if your center of balance is off, you could end up flipping the tractor over. That's why every time that I'm using a snow bucket or a light material bucket, I always have my hand on the FEL, and that way if I feel her coming up at the back, the first thing I do is I dive. Once the bucket is down, you don't have any worries. So keep that in mind if you are going to use that type of bucket. Now, I have to go out and disconnect that blade, so I'll be back shortly, folks. Lots of ice under that snow, I'll tell you. Parking these things, you should always put them on the level. Something I did not do, and now I'm slipping on the ice. Come on, baby, get in there. Cooperate. races. Now, what's the other question? Do I use... Hang on now. Do I use rim guard? Well, rim guard is a type of beet juice. And it's a liquid. And what people are asking me there is if I'm using them in my back wheels. And the answer is no. I'm not using it in the back wheels. And why? Well, the first year that we bought the 5740 was the last year that we did commercial snow clearing. And we were doing snow clearing for some government properties, and they frowned upon using any liquid in their in the wheels because they didn't want their property contaminated if it leaked. Now I know people are going to say rim guard is a natural product and it won't pollute, and I agree. But try convincing the government of that. So what we have 800 pounds of wheel weights on the back of this tractor. And that combined with the snowblower does a pretty good job for us. My gosh, I got an eyelash or something in my eye. So that's the reason why we don't use antifreeze or what else do they use? They use windshield wash, beet juice, rim guard, so on and so forth. That's why. So we're not taking a lot of snow out of this today. We're not taking snow out of here. We're taking snow down by the road and putting it here. Because I'm afraid Kathy might get out someday and not see something coming and get hit. And I'll tell you, I don't want nothing like that happening to her. She's too valuable. There's a lump. And of course, that's the reason why we're not using the snow blower. It is because of lumps, and because, especially by the road, because the Department of Highways trucks go up the road and they're salting that all night long, and that freezes something solid. So that's that question. I'll get with you now shortly. See what else we can come up with. The next question is the mirrors that you see on this tractor. Somebody asked me if I put them on, and the answer is no. They came standard equipment with the tractor. I did some experiment with them a few years ago, and I was going to put heated mirrors. I got to change them over to heated mirrors. So I did some experimenting with another one, and it pretty well discolored the mirror. So I said, it's not worth it. I'm not going to be putting mirrors on it. But it hasn't been too much of a problem. When you're using the snowblower, sometimes it can blow back and cover over the mirror. Other than that, though, it's no big deal. What else can I tell you about? So that's the mirrors covered. Oh, the rear view mirror. Well, you'll see a picture of that at the end of the video. I'll put some photos in there. The rear view mirror on this didn't come with this. I find a lot of Kubota, I find two things that Kubota really lack in their cabs. They have beautiful cabs, fantastic cabs. But you know, for the life of me, I don't know why they don't put rear view mirrors in them. Now, I have seen some lately that are getting rear view mirrors. but they will not put a sun visor in them. And I don't know why they don't put a sun visor in them. If you look at even the coyotes, anything with a coyote with a cab, I believe, has a sun visor. And I'm telling you, it's handy to have. So, that's about my only gripe. Now, I've told a couple of guys that came here from Newfoundland Canada about that. They could hardly believe that they never had a sun visor in them. So they weren't even aware of it. So, what else can I tell you? What's the other question here now? Did I soundproof the cab? A lot of people are complimenting me on the sound quality here in the cab. And folks, I wish I could take credit for it, but no, I didn't. It's this is all Kubota. This is Kubota's great cab, and they're responsible for the cab and the acoustics of it. They did a fantastic job, but the only complaint I got with the cab, of course, is the fact that they don't put a rear view mirror in them, they don't put a sun visor in them. But with regards to the cab, it'll roast you in the winter, and it'll freeze you to death in the summer. So I'm telling you, folks, it's great. So that's where we're to with the cab. Now, I know fellas who tried to soundproof their cabs, even in these, and I don't know why. I mean, we're doing a lot of videos with these tractors, and I don't know. I think that I think the sound quality and the video quality is probably as good as you're ever going to see it in the tractor. Excuse me. It is what it is. At the end of the video, I'll put in a photo of how I have the camera set up in here. You're going to know it's hooked up to an external mic. It's also hooked up a battery pack. There's an external battery pack to it. And the reason why I do that is because, well, GoPro has never had a great reputation for sound quality, audio quality, and also for battery longevity. They have a tendency to be weak on both of those areas. So that's why I have the two of it straightened away there now like I do. It's a good combination. It works well. And I haven't heard too many people complain about it. Of course, no matter what you do, there's going to be somebody complaining about it, but it's about as good as I can get it. How are we doing here? I'm trying to see if this is working right. And it seems to be. I'm just trying to get a little bit of snow away from that corner. You can see the lumps in it, eh? Okay, let's move on to another question. The other question, do I take requests for mods? Well, yes and no. Let me put it to you this way. We listen to you when you speak about mods, but that don't necessarily mean you're going to see them. Because we have a prerequisite when it comes to doing mods. And there has to be enough people ask for them. In other words, there has to be a demand for them. We can't spend a pile of time developing stuff when there's no demand. So, for instance, if you had 10 or 20 people asking you to spend days to develop a mod, that's not going to cut it. You have 50 people asking for it, well, now you start to consider it. So that's where I'm up to with that. It's just a matter of, well, it's a matter of staying in business. You can't keep developing things just because you want to develop them. You need to develop things that you think you're going to be able to sell. And that's where we're to with it. That traffic is getting a little crazy, man. I got to turn down the heat, freezing to death, or boiling to death there. Now, people might ask me, like, what's the sound level in this 40 series compared to the new 60 series? The 60 series sounded quiet to me, and although we've had a couple of them here, I have never had the opportunity to really operate one. Because when they come here, they're kind of just here for me to take measurements from, and you know, fitting up mods to it and seeing how it works. But we don't use them. We don't want to hour them out on the dealership. They're good enough to lend us this stuff, so that's why. So I'm being honest with you, I really don't know how it compares to the 60. I suspect that it is at least as good. I didn't see anything that made me think it was better, but I think it was, you know, just moving in at the shop, it seemed as equally as good. I personally like the 40 series cab better than the 60 series. Because I think Kubota went with the 60 series. They changed the cab, the design of the 60 series over to 40, and I don't think, like they'll say it's 20% more room. But see, you know, the 20% more room in my book is really not an issue, because what can you do with 20% more room in a cab of a tractor? If there's not enough room for a buddy seat, there's no point in having it. So the 20% room, extra space, is no benefit. It's just a 20% more room. It's instead of the cab coming up like this, the cab comes up straight. So personally, I think the reason why it was done that way was to make design, or to make manufacturing easier. It's a lot different dealing with a straight side than it is a curved side. But now, I could be wrong. I'd love to get talking to a Kubota engineer, but we have to remember, folks, that these things aren't designed in North America. Like Kubota USA, they build buckets, and they build FELs, and they build backhoes and stuff, but they don't build a tractor. So there's no one really that I can ask that opinion to. I can't get into where I want to get because of the traffic. Now, what's the other question? The other question: will we be designing for another manufacturer? Well, that's a toughie. I would say yes, eventually. We've been 2 years into this now. We celebrated our 2nd anniversary on the 10th of February. And I'm going to tell you, it's the fastest 2 years of my life. But we've designed, I think when it comes to Kubota, they got a couple of new models out. If I could get my hands on those 2 new models, I would design for those. But after that, I really don't know, you know. There's models that I would like to have, say for instance, I would like to have a 2650 with no cab and a snowblower here. There's things I could make for that. But here's the problem. I don't think our dealership has ever had a 2650 with no cab. So availability is a problem. But if John Deere or Mahindra or some other manufacturer on the island here, if they were open to letting us have their tractors, yeah, I wouldn't see why not. I think if anything, just the visibility would help sell tractors for them. And I know for a fact that we've had a lot of Kubota customers. Well, we've had a lot of non-Kubota customers call and order our mods. And once they get them ordered, they say, well, okay, now they're going to go buy my tractor. So I think the mods, in some situations, have actually sold the tractor. And we're having dealerships now ordering accessories from us to put on new tractors. They're getting ready for their customers. Their customers requested our mods, so I'm sure it's not hurting Kubota sales by having us do the mods for their equipment. So I can't see why it would hurt another manufacturer. But anyway, your thoughts on it would be much appreciated. If you'd like to see a John Deere done or a Coyote done, or maybe what you should do is talk to your local dealership and tell them to mention it to their head office that we are in for a I gotta get that off the road. Buddy, you can pull out on the road, my son. The road is wider. Anyway, yeah, if you mention it to your dealer and your dealer mention it to their head office, enough people out there mention it, I'm sure it could happen. So I'd like to get my hands on a John Deere, a smaller subcompact. Start off with that. And I'm going to tell you, we changed the look of that pretty quick with some real cool items. We have some cool ideas that's never been done to a Kubota that we've been kind of just trying to save them and put them aside their design. We just got to get them put on the right machine. And when I designed them, I kind of had John Deere in mind for it. So, hey, squeaky wheel gets the grease. You guys with John Deere's, go for it. We have a Coyote dealership in St. John's. We really don't have much to do with those guys. We bought a couple of trailers from them. That's when Kubota weren't selling trailers. So, other than that, we don't have much to do with them. And no point in moving too much snow out here, because what happens is the plow goes by. The plow goes by, beers is in again. So we're only making room for the plow. Check my paper, see if we got them all answered here. So we got the one forky done, we got the design manufacturer's done, request for rods is done, rim guard is done, snow bucket is done, soundproof is done, and mirrors are done. So that's 6 or 7 questions. That's straightened away, so hey, what do you do? What do you do? So what we'll do is we'll finish up this little bit of snow clearing here. There's not much to it. Then we'll get back and put it in shop and call it a day. So folks, got any questions or any comments, leave them and we read them all. We might not be able to answer them all because we're quite busy, but we read them all. So thanks for watching. You guys take care. Have a real good Sunday. Look after yourselves and God bless.